Hello everyone, my name is Awot, and today I'll be working on Dev Diaries episode 15. Dev Diaries is my series in which I work on my mod for Age of Mythology that adds a bunch of skirmish maps to the game. This is however just a mod and I have no affiliation with the official developers in any way, shape, or form. I currently developed this completely solo and with no coding experience. This mod is called Awot's Otherworldly Maps and can be downloaded anytime for free within the mods tab in the main menu. It can be shared with friends as long as you are the host and they won't need to download the mods themselves. But with that out of the way, let's get started the video. I'm going to put that disclaimer at the start of each video now. Let me know if that's too long or something. I just want to put that at the front of each video to be clear since the description wasn't doing it for most people. Anyway, today I'm going to be working on a new map. Currently, it's called Butterfly Lake, and it's the only new relatively normal map that I'm planning to add in this next update. Like, I'm still adding Awot Select, Nomad versions of Awot Select and Awot Unknown, and then I'm adding the April Fool's map, but those maps have all sort of crazy things going on with them, while Butterfly Lake reflects more of how I used to do maps, where yeah, it's a skirmish map with a consistent theme. You can kind of expect the same vibes from it each time you play it. However, I tried to make it one of my more impressive maps so far, by giving it a lot of unique shapes that you wouldn't find in my other maps. And I know some of you may be sad to only hear there's one more normal-ish map, but if I'm being honest, I've noticed that at this point in the map pack, I have so many maps that most of you haven't even played them all still. Like when I first released the map pack, I would say, how did you enjoy Sunlight Strands, for example, and all the people who played it would be like, oh yeah, we love Sunlight Strands colors. But now I could ask, how is Into the Spire? And people will be like, I don't even know which map that is anymore because there's just so many now. So I think I've mostly accomplished my goal of giving you guys a large variety to select from already. And I don't want to be in a situation where I'm throwing water at the ocean. So to prevent that, I'm not really going to make new maps anymore unless I'm really passionate about their concepts. Just cut down from having too much excessive bloat in the map pack. Especially since some of my earlier ones are hardly distinguishable from each other in terms of gameplay, since I wasn't really aware of what I was doing back then. I was kind of Frankensteining some maps together. So a lot of them were just different arrangements of a basic land map and forests and cliffs. Kind of like how in my house, I make a bunch of meals throughout the month, but really they're all just remixes of rice, beans, and vegetables. I felt the same way about some of my earlier creations, which is why in the previous update I tried to make all of them have some sort of unique aspect to it. But yeah, that's my reasonings for not making as many new maps this update. Trust me, while it sounds disappointing, I don't think it really affects that many people. I think there's probably only 2 people who can name most of my maps off the top of their head anyway. So I think we got enough bloat, but let me know if I'm thinking in the wrong headspace here. But anyway, enough talking about why there's only one map, let me show you the one map. So like I said, if I'm going to make any normal maps anymore, I'm definitely going to want to make them unique. And I think I've accomplished that here. So I'm going to show you guys this placeholder version of it, which uses assets currently in the game, but I do plan on swapping these assets for the new Aztec assets once those drop. But yeah, you can see I have a nice little starting area right here. Well, not competitively viable, a lot of my friends have been asking for a map that's really cozy on where you start. You know, since Numinous Arena had a lot of positive feedback when it came out, and my audience, my target audience, would be my friends and fellow Comp Stomp players. So since they created demand for that, I decided I would make another map with a cozy base. But I didn't want to redo Numinous Arena, so I wanted to do a slight variation to it. So I gave you guys this. You have little fish in your starting area, and you're very heavily wooded in. You know, for just a little bit of gold, you guys can create walls and wall yourself in your starting area. And just like Numinous Arena, your starting forest structure is unique. Instead of your normal starting forest, which is basically just a normal forest that spawns around you, you have this tightly surrounding ring, and you have to decide whether you want to keep the wood as a natural defense or chop it down for wood. So it adds a nice contrast to Numinous Arena, where wood is more than plentiful. And I also made it so that there's no safe wood on the map. So if you decide you don't want to chop down the wood protecting your base, then you're going to have to do a risk versus reward calculation on the wood you can find outside your base. So first off, you're going to have these medium to small sized forests. These are going to be found in a dirt region, and they won't have too many trees with them. Like, this amount of trees is going to keep you occupied for a moment, but you are probably going to have to find a new source of trees throughout the match. And being just a little bit outside of your main base's range, you are going to have to protect your villagers mining wood here. So this is kind of like your medium risk, medium reward option if you don't want to chop down the trees defending your base. Then there's the high risk, high reward option. There's going to be a giant forest in the center of the map. It's going to have plenty of trees to keep you satisfied for probably the entire match. But the downside is this center area is probably going to be very popular. There's fish in this lake, there's an extra town center in the very center of the lake, and you're susceptible to sneak attacks because you can actually walk on the other side of the forest. And the worst part is, your base is going to be very far away from this area. Unless you're playing on large map size, there's not going to be any town centers except for the very center one, which means you're just going to have to invest money and resources to dig wood out here at this hotspot. This is very risky for your villagers, but if anything does happen over here, at least you know your base will be safe. So those are your wood options, and it's up to you to decide which wood option you want to take. Your home base, these little forests that are medium risk, or this center forest. Now let's focus on that town center that I said was in the middle of the map. Yes, another 5 town center map. I'm sorry, I just really love them. But this one's slightly different. First off, it's actually a Citadel Center, so you're gonna have to siege it before you can claim it. And Citadel Centers are way harder to take down than a normal town center. Second of all, it's in a terrible spot to defend. Like, just look at this spot. How are you going to defend this? Well, this one's another risk versus reward assessment that you need to do in your head, as opposed to being the usual clear yes. So in most matches, this town center may not even be touched, given how risky it is, because it's going to take a lot of resources to take down in the first place, and then you're going to invest in a transport ship, send villagers over there, because that's going to be a lot of walking time for the villagers, and less time in which they're getting resources. All that for a town center that's hardly defendable because it's within siege ship range on smaller map sizes, and on larger map sizes, you could make a defense for it, but on larger map sizes, there's also going to be a bunch of people in the lake fighting. It's up to you to decide if you want that. And right now I have this generic tile with the Egyptian Citadel Center as placeholder. I do plan on changing this to Aztec tiles if they have that when it comes out, and then change it to an Aztec Citadel Center. In fact, I'm going to replace this whole marsh area with a jungle area from the Aztecs, and then this dirt area is going to be the Aztec dirt, and then the Aztec desert on the outside. Get all 3 of those biomes in there. I definitely want to do a multi-biome map that just made a lot more sense than like Katsu Monsoon, which is just like a split of biomes. I wanted this one to be a gradient that made sense environmentally. Now you're gonna notice that this map actually has a lot of resources, specifically hunt. I'm gonna be honest, and most of them are placeholders. I'm not sure how many animals are gonna be added in the Aztec DLC, but I would want to make sure that I represent them all. So in advance I put a bunch of hunt, and I'll replace them the animals accordingly because it's better to have more than less. And if I represent all the animals and there's an extra slot, I'll just delete that extra slot. So yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is the food amount is subject to change right now. It's just a placeholder. On top of that, you will notice some resources are only available in certain layers. I made it so gold is only available within the jungle and the desert. The desert gold is meant to be like more your safe ones, just so you can get your foot off the ground, and then you can go to the center and fight for the rest of the gold. Make it even more of a hot spot. Then you'll notice that both your town centers will spawn right next to you. Yep, this is to make your base pretty cozy and small. And while this promotes very defensive playing, you have to remember I just said that the resources are going to be far out. So while you can start off defensive, you're going to have to go on the offense and get the resources in the hotspot center area eventually. So just like Numinous Arena, don't get too cozy now. And funny thing is, on most normal maps, including both the vanilla and my maps, on larger map sizes such as large map size or giant map size, the extra town centers that spawn don't have as much restrictions, and they're kind of thrown anywhere on the map. But on this map, I've actually made it so that on the large map size, it strategically places the 3rd town center in the center area, making it even more of a hot spot. And it changes the dynamic of the gameplay just a little bit with one of the town centers being far away instead of close to your base. But once you go to Giant, the 4th town center actually spawns behind you, adding to your original base. But yeah, I'm just trying to say that I did think about large and giant map sizes on this map for once, and you will notice that they are placed with intention on this map instead of being like other maps where the large and giant town centers just kind of get thrown in the map. But yeah, that's why I've been working on waiting for the Aztecs to come out. Today is Monday, April 13th, and I am hoping for an Aztec trailer tomorrow on April 14th, because that'll be the 1 week before the Aztecs come out on April 21st. But if they don't post it on Tuesday, then I'm hoping on Thursday it'll be out. I'm very excited for the trailer, and I'm going to hold off on posting this video until Tuesday night because I wouldn't want to post this and the Aztec trailer reaction within the same day. But yeah, in today's diary, I just wanted to show you guys the map I've been working on. Someone on Steam messaged me, how do I get this stuff done so quick? The truth is, I actually work on this stuff way in advance before I make a video on it. So like, Awot Select, despite being posted after the April Fool's video, was done a week in advance before the April Fool's video. The April Fool's video was done, well, the week of April Fool's. The Awot Nomad changes was actually done like a month ago, and this map has been in development for a week and a half, and I'm still working on it. So don't get me wrong, I'm not making these things in like 2 days and then posting a video on it. These things are worked on in advance before the videos, and then the videos are recorded and edited a few days in advance from their upload date. So like when this video posts, you don't know what kind of progress I've already done for my update. Although probably not much more though, since this is the most recent thing I've worked on. And as far as I remember right now, I don't think I have anything else to review. I've just been working on this. But yeah, that's it for today's episode because this is getting past the 10-minute mark and I don't want my poor computer to explode rendering. I have so much more to talk about this map though. This map, even though it looks very basic in design, it was a struggle to make. So I think next episode is really just going to be crying about my struggles and making it for 10 minutes straight. Because a lot of things went wrong before we got here. Honestly, I might even dare say that making the shapes function properly and look the way they do, making all the things attached to each other not look like broken segments, was probably harder than making Awot Select, because even though Awot Select is like 23 maps put into one, its production was pretty straightforward. While this encountered issue after issue, and I learned so many things making this map, but I'll detail that all more in the next episode, which probably won't be a while, because I'd want my next video to be the Aztec trailer reaction if that comes out. So the next episode would come after that, like 2 or 3 days after that. And if the Aztec trailer is not out by Tuesday, then I expect it by Thursday. So you probably won't see the development diary of me crying about the struggles of making this map until like Saturday. But hey, who knows, I could be wrong, and Age of Mythology might not post a trailer at all, and that might bump the next episode up on the schedule for all 5 of you that watch this series, or potential viewers going back and watching this, because I leave the series as kind of like a recording, like how some scientists they talk into a recorder and leave it for later. I hope this series can function something like that. Since Age of Mythology itself has been a pretty timeless game lasting over decades now, and having a special place in many people's hearts throughout the years, it's something a lot of people come back to every now and then. And also, before I make the next one where I'm crying about my struggles, I actually want to finish the map and make sure there's no struggles left to have cried about. Since yeah, I actually have to finish the map in between recording footage and editing these videos. But that's it for today's diary. Hopefully the trailer comes out soon so I can yap about that. And then you guys might be able to see the next diary where I cry about how this map was produced. But thank you for watching as usual, and have a great day.